Welcome to the RomaPress podcast with John Solano and Andy Mattioli.
Hello, everybody. We are back. It's another episode of the RomaPress podcast. We hope you are well. Thank you, as always, to all of our wonderful patrons over at Patreon. We greatly appreciate your support. If you want to get early access to the podcast, extra episodes, a bunch of other things, you can go to patreon.com/RomaPress. All right, Andy. Usually I ask you just briefly before I hit record what we're going to talk about in this upcoming episode to ensure we are both on the same page. This time, truly.
This was not the day.
No. I mean...
This time, it was just silence. Awkward silence between two men sitting on...
You can attempt to put
thousands and thousands of miles apart, divided by an ocean.
Well, and soon too, you will be returning to the. I don't know why Alcatraz comes to mind.
Yes. Oh, come on! You're in Ohio.
Hey,
Alcatraz.
Well, that's the problem too. I am either in the actual Cleveland, Ohio, or I am in the close. Well, not close, but it is essentially the Italian equivalent of it.
Yes.
Where it just difficult to explain where you are. Really doesn't even look like Italy in any measurable sense.
It's like the Indiana of Italy.
Yeah, that is a fantastic comparison because as everybody knows, in Veneto, I mean, people the surnames, they don't even end in vowels. If you are ever lost in the country, just know one place you can eliminate almost immediately is if their surname ends in an R. Typically, you will know for certain that you are in Veneto. But anyway,
and that's when you know it's a slow news day when we start to discuss the geographical settings in Italy. You know, that's when you know that it's the middle of summer. People are stewing in their own juices. You know, the AC is out.
Yes.
People are miserable, and this is what it comes down to. People tune in to John, you know, talking murder about
every
Veneto
part of the country.
Yes, especially your parts, and you know, when it comes down to what's happening with Roma, I think very few people have any idea about what's going on. I mean, as we saw recently, even the holy grail of Roman journalism, Filippo Biafora of Il Tempo, our good friend, has messed up a few news in recent weeks, and that should tell you all you need to know about what's happening at the club. What's happening is that nobody knows. Right. It's a mystery. I
have to start digging into the personal lives of these players and contacting family members.
Yes.
That's when we know it's bad.
Yeah, that's when you know, and when the big news is that somebody saw somebody's cousin at the airport in Rome. You know, like recently it was Gianluca Scamacca in Italy. You know, and then the news comes out, it's for personal reasons. He's flying back out to London. End of story. You know, that's
right.
It doesn't
certainly you would rather see his cousin than father, yeah?
Exactly. You don't even have the chance to properly react to the news that it's taken away from you. You know, like one day it's, Daichi Kamada. It's the next target for Roma. A day later, Roma are no longer interested in Kamada. You know, like... And I
then
can
it turns
imagine,
into he's going to Lazio.
And then Lazio, yes. Lazio, Atletico Madrid. Then you go from Matias Vigna, this close to joining Bournemouth. And everybody's going, wow, so cool. And now complete silence. Eldor Shomurodov undergoes his medical with Cagliari. We get the pictures of him at Villa Stewart. Silence. You know, like that's Gonzalo Villar on his way out. A return to Spain. Close to Granada, No, he's not that close. Again, silence. I think that's what we live in, an age where there is constant noise. Like every time you get back on Twitter or whatever is left of Twitter, RIP Twitter, um, you check, you refresh the feed, and every time there's something new. But right now, nothing's going on. Like, you have Gianluca Di Marzio, the top transfer expert in Italy, retweeting news about what's happening in Serie C. And that's what summer has come down to. You have Roma trying to get a striker, get a midfielder, both on loan, both without an obligation because Roma cannot guarantee the money right now. Then you have Milan, who are basically splurging every single cent that they made off of the Sandro Tonali sale. And then you have Inter, who are trying to negotiate Bayern Munich's release clause for Sommer, who's a 35-year-old goalkeeper on his way out.
And offering what for
nothing. They're trying to be like, can you please give us a free goalkeeper, please, 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 pretty please. And and then you have Juventus. Oh no, wait. Then you have Napoli, who I think they just signed a goalkeeper and sent him to Empoli, and they're about to renew Mario Rui, who's 35 or something. And those are their big moves for the summer as the reigning Serie A champions, obviously. And then you have Juventus, who keep posting videos of Paul Pogba doing dance moves in a swimming pool in Los Angeles during their preseason, and Massimiliano
Allegri assure
Allegri
us that he is alive or something.
Yes, at the same time you have Allegri.
Video.
Yeah, and at the same time you have Allegri saying, "Well, he's not ready. Maybe in a month he'll train with the rest of the team, but for now, we don't know what's going on." So that's what's happening with like the nation's top teams. So I'm just I'm trying to paint the canvas, fill in the holes. And trying to reassure people that the silence that is concerning your team is resounding in the whole country.
Well,
When Genoa spent 15 million on a player, you have a problem.
Yeah, right. Well, especially too in this context of this summer, it's a problem. Let me just say, in general, it would be a problem when Genoa spend that much. But in this context, when the summer is this slow, it becomes that more apparent. I was preparing the images for the video, and I was trying to think, okay, well, I will add some of the topics that we discuss in this. And I put latest transfer updates in Serie A and Roma. We are not even at 10 minutes yet, and already I feel like the material.
Yeah, this is it, folks. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed
10 minutes.
9 minutes.
Hopefully you are now near the front of the line for your espressino or something. So I don't even know what more we can add. In Serie A, I mean, Andy, there is nothing. It would be one thing if there was one team who was
or something exciting is going on. Like I can appreciate Milan are doing a lot with those 70 million earned from Sandro, and that's when you know that that club is operating under better circumstances than, for example, Inter. You look at what Milan are doing with those 70 million earned from Sandro Tonali sale, and then you look at Inter, who just sold Onana for slightly less than 60 million. Inter are completely blocked because Inter are in a similar position to Roma. Like, whatever sale they secure, they can't rely on that money. Whereas Milan, as soon as they got that deal done for Tonali, boom, they are trying to reinvent the whole attack. And kudos to them. They did so, and they're probably the only team in Italy right now that is trying to put on a spectacle in terms of transfer moves, and there are some intriguing players, and I'm interested, for example, to see like what a guy like Pulisic can do in Italy as opposed to the Premier League. They're getting some younger talents in, and that's exciting. But that's it really is about it. Like,
So you don't view that as trading a one big piece for several small pieces, what they
I
have
think
done?
and what is a big piece, because I think like last season with Milan, it clearly came to a point where something wasn't working. I don't know if it was necessarily Pioli, but something was stagnant. Like something didn't work. That team that had just won Serie A sort of fell into a slump and they couldn't get out of it. I think their idea was, we are basically covered in the midfield. Well, you can argue against that because Benacer is out for a long time, and I mean, who else do they have? They have Pobega, like whatever. But there is that idea of rejuvenating the team, trying to get rid of the likes of Rebic and Origi, and obviously following Zlatan's retirement, you're trying to boost that team, give it back that same energy that they had in the year they secured the Scudetto, and I think they are the only team that really went about trying to realize the initial objective that they set out for ahead of the transfer window. They get rid of Maldini, they get rid of Massara, they instill a new plan. Boom, they go about realizing it. Other teams, they may have a plan. Like Roma, it's clear as day that they have a plan, they have needs. Inter, same thing. Juventus, after the year that they've had and the year that they're about to have, likely without any Europe involvement, um, they should be running around and securing pieces. And instead, all these teams, it seems like they're locked in. They can't get out of their own limits. It's like there is this invisible wall that they're facing, and it's preventing them from, even Juventus. They can't seem to sell. They can't sell Zakaria. They just sent Arturo on loan to Fiorentina after renewing him for a further year.
Yes, the
They
Justin Clivert special.
they can't sell Weston McKennie. It looks like he's going to stay around. Um, Roma. Roma want a striker. Roma want a midfielder. All these rumors about, Rick Karsdorp leaving the club, Roger Ibanez leaving the club, two arguably important players for the team. Those rumors are dead. Like, there is nothing there. There are no offers. There is no interest. There is nothing. Like, Inter, they don't have a single goalkeeper other than Di Gennaro, who I think came up from their Primavera. That's about it. And they're a few weeks away from the start of Serie A, and they have no goalkeeper. After Onana left, after Handanovic left with the termination of his contract, whatever.
Right.
Napoli, after Luciano Spalletti parted ways with them, should have jumped the gun and tried to get rid of, in an excellent team, try to get rid of all the pieces that need to be gotten rid of. Like, exactly, like the likes of Mario Rui, who may have been good under Spalletti, may have been good over the years, but he's an aging fullback. And Diego Demme, and Politano, who, is not the key player that you want for a team that wants to reaffirm itself and win the Scudetto again. They can't do it. None of these teams seem to be able to break through that invisible wall, and that's and so that's, I understand why it's so frustrating, not only for the managers, because a guy like Rudy Garcia comes in, here he is dealing with a Scudetto winning squad, but they can't even seem to get Maxim Lopez from Sassuolo,
Right.
and Jose Mourinho, knows that this year he has to get somebody that replaces Tammy Abraham, that gives him the certainty that he's going to score a minimum amount of goals. And, weeks and weeks of negotiations for Alvaro Morata, for Gianluca Scamacca. Nothing. It's dead in the water. Midfielder. Who, Marcel Sabitzer joins Borussia Dortmund. Rodrigo de Paul costs a fortune. Renato Sanchez, is he the guy? Does he want to come on loan? Is it a permanent deal? Whatever it is, nothing's moving. I can't imagine. It has to be super frustrating for the people involved in that world, and for us fans, perhaps even more frustrating because we've gotten so used to all these fireworks. You look at what the Premier League does. You look at what La Liga sometimes can do in certain occasions, not all the time. Then you see now you have the Saudi clubs
Saudi
just
Pro League,
throwing
yes.
money left and right. Malcolm, did you see that Malcolm just got sold for 60 million?
I did see that. I was waiting to discuss that because I did have something that we should talk about because I know something is worth discussing when my wife, who does not particularly care for football, brings it up to me when she saw the news of Mbappe. The thing with the Saudi Pro League, man, it's crazy to me. The whole thing. I mean, the money they throw at it. I didn't want to get ahead of myself on Malcolm, though, until I saw him land properly, because we all know for an operation involving him, truly it is not done until the plane lands. I will never forget that, by the way, because do you remember that? If we can go down memory lane just very quickly before we get into
I
this.
remember that. I remember where I was when I saw
Bob and
Filippo
Rolson
Biafra.
arrived the same day.
I know where I was the evening, because it was an evening when Filippo Biafra tweeted out, something's happened. The plane, the Malcolm plane is being hijacked by Barcelona, basically. He's going in the other direction. And I remember the funnier thing was that we faced Barcelona a few days later in preseason friendly, and Malcolm obviously scored in that preseason friendly. I don't know if you remember that, but it's. I think he even scored the first
Dallas.
goal
I
of the
think
night.
I was actually there in person, if I am not.
It was hilarious. It was like just the biggest. Like, I remember, I think Nainggolan talked shit about him before that friendly. Like, Nainggolan just went out of his way and just like said, "Oh well, if he didn't want to join us, then he sucks," and blah blah. And Malcolm goes out of his way to score the first goal of the night.
Well, I am looking up in my phone now, and I still do have it, the conversation that I was having with the wonderful, the famed agent, one of the most dapper and good-looking agents that we have, Federico Pastorello, who was the intermediary for that deal. And I am looking at the conversation right now, and I still have it. And it is as if it is like watching a tragedy unfold in real time as I go through this. It's
no, everybody lost their shit because arguably you were about to sign a big talent, one of the brightest talents in Liga at that point. A guy who showed that he could make a difference. Roma were just coming off a great high. It was a good moment for the club. It seemed like sky's the limit. You had Monchi there first. The big name director right there for you. It seemed like this is the type of talent that you go out your way out of, and you make a surprise signing, and he turns into this diamond in the rough for you. And a big important fee for Roma. And all of a sudden, I remember that it really felt like you were in part of a movie. Just the plane is going back, and all of a sudden negotiations, and Barcelona contacted the player's agents, and and the player has changed his mind. Because I think
we all knew
same
something
window,
was up when Bordeaux, they put out that statement, that very awkward statement.
very strange statement. Like, is it official? Is this like an agreement? Is this like a promise, or what? What is it?
It was one of those statements that it read almost as if you knew exactly what they were trying to do. Trying to, it felt like you were the guy. You got the girl to say yes, but then she posts on social media that she said yes to you for a date in 1 week, but trying to get other suitors because they are not exactly thrilled with the prospect of going on a date with you. I'm projecting too much, but anyway, yeah, that watching that unfold was great. I still vividly remember while I'm talking to Pastorello, seeing our good friend Mangiante come on to my screen, and he's doing the thing where he's at Fiumicino, or no, I believe it was Ciampino, if I'm not mistaken. But he's got the earpiece in, and you can see him trying to communicate what is happening, and it was.
Mind you, there was a huge crowd at the airport, so like
Yeah, yeah. The one thing I have to say is people, when they try to troll Romanisti on that, they say, "Oh, you came to the airport and the guy never showed up," and it's like, well, no, they were already there, so calm down. As embarrassing as it may be, they were already there, so joke is on you. About the Saudi Pro League, though, I want to get into this just very briefly because when you have the transfer window going so slow like this, very unappealing, not many big, high-profile splash moves that you typically expect in a summer. Meanwhile, you have the exact opposite on the other side of the coin with the Saudi Pro League, spending obscene amounts of cash on guys that you just wouldn't be able to comprehend how they are worth that much. Now, obviously, trying to draw high profile names out of Europe and into the Saudi Pro League, obviously they're going to have to pay a premium. But I do have to kind of smirk at this because I'm reading all of these pieces, and it is more so coming from UK based outlets. I think the one I read today was either The Athletic or Daily Mail, something like that, about how football is at a point of reflection. Are we going to allow this to continue and happen? And I do kind of smirk a little bit because this whole thing only became a problem when the Premier League was starting to be affected, and some of these pieces that come out. Never mind that Premier League, the spending power they have versus the likes of Ligue 1, La Liga, Serie A, Bundesliga, that's no problem. But when the Saudi Pro League comes in and begins to step on their toes a little bit, now it's
yeah.
it's football is at the point of reflection. Now are we going to allow this to continue? What do you make of this whole thing? Because as I said, anytime my wife brings something up to me in football, I have to at least somewhat bring it up on here because it has to be very big for her to approach me with a talking point particularly when it comes to the transfer market. I do think, obviously, listen, this is a lot of money. I mean, just the offer for Mbappe, Andy, a third of 1 billion euros. I mean, oof.
Yeah.
No matter what.
22 euros every second. Somebody made that calculation.
Love when people do that. I mean, it is money that is you almost cannot appreciate it because it's such an absurd figure. Trying to do that maths in your head, I just tried to envision a stack of
No, you
euros
can't.
on a table.
You
What
can't.
that would
That
right?
money doesn't exist. Like
Correct.
it's only
Correct.
zeros. It's a lot of zeros on your bank account. It doesn't. It's just I can't. Like it doesn't.
Correct. It is a figment of imagination.
Right. Right.
How much of a problem do you think this is? Because for me, we're past the looking glass on most of these things, man. Because if this is the point where you say to yourself, okay, now I'm done. Now this is a huge problem. UEFA, FIFA, step in. I kind of roll my eyes, kind of as I did with the Pro League or the Super League, Pro League,
Mm-hmm.
the Super League. there have been so many other episodes and things that happened that gotten us to this point that I think to myself, well, this is the result of all of those other things that were allowed to go unchecked. So if you are complaining now and you are taking issue with things now, I think you are very, very, very late to your dinner reservation. That's the way I view
Surely, it's is it good? I don't know. It's certainly it's not the best in terms of when if you like watching the sport, and a lot of sports top players go play in a league that as much talent as they want to put there is still not equipped to compete on any level with the other leagues. And just it's the setting, the also just the idea. But again, see, even that, the thought of just the idea of having these like players play on huge impossibly enormous contracts,
right.
much what you're getting to a maybe perhaps to a lesser degree in the Premier League. When you see these fees that are getting paid, like Declan Rice, the most expensive English player of all time, and then you see Malcolm being sold for 60 million, then you say, well, what's the difference? Is there a difference? Where's the difference?
Exactly. Yes.
It feels the problem is that this sport has too much money, like too much money. Even though when you compare the contracts that you earn in this sport and then you compare them to the NBA, it's still, I mean, that's that's a different world. But
right.
here with football, it's I think the only big problem for me with this, because at the end of the day, a player will always make money. It's their life. If they want to provide for their family with millions and millions and secure the future of the future generations, then fantastic. That's their right. But I think it's basically stripping this sport of any kind of intriguing storyline. It seems like we're trying to add layers and layers, making these competitions bigger and bigger, and adding the Conference League, and then adding playoffs, and then adding this and adding that, because we need storylines. But the storylines will not make themselves unless you create a suitable environment for them. If you have leagues where there is an equal distribution of talent, or if you have leagues where there is a competitive spirit. If you just bring in all these A-list celebrities, like, I'm not gonna talk trash about, I'm a big movie fan, I'm not gonna talk trash about Marvel, but think about like the weight of
No, you can talk
no,
trash
but
of Marvel.
but
Come
what I'm
on.
saying,
If you don't, I will.
what think about the weight uh, a movie can have, where you have a small role by a character actor that you don't necessarily recognize, but that small role really makes a difference. Like recently, you people go and watch Oppenheimer, and there you have the character of Albert Einstein, and he's played by a British actor who many people don't know. He was very popular in the 80s, called Tom Conti. Not a big name, but that role leaves, and not much screen time, but that role leaves an impact. But as soon as you create a movie where every single face is an A-list celebrity, just there for the laughs, say the Ryan Reynolds of this world, and Dwayne the Rock Johnson, and Chris Hemsworth of the world, it loses its impact. Like, you don't have a storyline anymore. It's just, oh, who's gonna be next? Oh, are we gonna see, the latest, I don't know, pop singer appear out of nowhere and be some kind of, I don't know, weird superhuman mermaid or something, flying in the sky and has no connection to the story whatsoever? Sure, and but at the end of the day, that has no impact. That gives no depth. And similarly to football, when you see a league where they just put all these great players like Cristiano Ronaldo, and then you have N'Golo Kante and Marcelo Brozovic and Ruben Neves and all these really, really, really good players, but in a setting that is absolutely dreadful, is absolutely devoid of any kind of emotion, where the stakes are not even, you don't even know what the stakes are, um then where's the fun? Where's the fun? Besides watching billionaires kick a football, where's the fun? Where's the storyline? Where's the Leicester City? Where's the Napoli of last year, who after over 30 years go back to winning a Scudetto? That's what obviously, as a Roma fan, you may not want to see that, but as a sports fan, that's exciting. If you keep, but UEFA don't understand it. They go after the money, so they facilitate that. They are trying to, on one hand, they're trying to, to extend all these competitions and add new layers to it because they want to pretend like they're contributing to the sport. But on the other hand, they're just facilitating and helping out those that have the money, those that can do things. And actually, I mean, did you see how now Osasuna are back in the they're back in the Conference League? But that was
correct.
That was a close call. That was like a slap in the face to a smaller team that wanted to dream big. And
for something that happened years ago, by the way.
Yes, and UEFA were on the verge of saying, no, fuck you, whatever the fuck, whatever you did this season, we don't care. We don't care. Sporting achievements from a small team, who cares? You're not getting in. That's, for me, that's the sad part. That's when you know that an organization doesn't have the best of the sport at heart.
Yeah, and two, I mean, Andy, you go back and look, not even, 2 months ago, 1 month ago, less than 2 months ago, Inter were in a UEFA Champions League final. And how many of their starters did they lose? They've lost Skriniar, they've lost Onana, they've lost Brozovic. I mean, just think of that. It's less than 60 days ago, you had the team make it to the pinnacle, the ultimate match in a UEFA competition, and they just bounced goodbye without even giving it, a second thought. It is just so weird to me. But to add on what you said, I just think there have been so many things that have gotten us to this point that the Saudi Pro League really is just the result of all of these little things that have gone on top of each other that have led to what we see this summer, where you'll have, again, a league offering 1/3 of €1 billion for a single player. And that is before they even give the guy wages. It's crazy to me because, again, as you said, this level of wealth is a figment of imagination. Things we can't even quantify in terms of trying to, make it concrete in our heads and get an idea as to what it actually means. It's figures that you don't even think of, figures that are so beyond reality that you can't even believe that the sport has the ability to create an offer that high. It is obscene, the levels of wealth we've seen thrown about by the Saudi Pro League this past season. But again, I'm not going to blame them. I don't blame them at all. And as you said, UEFA, in my opinion, on the hook for this entirely. So many things they have gotten wrong. For me, the lack of parity we are seeing, particularly at the top echelons like the Champions League. I mean, Andy, if you remove 10 to 15 clubs, it's a competition that is going to just be recycled again and again with the same teams, the same clubs, the same champions, the same everything. And UEFA, in my opinion, is the one to blame for that. They were too late to act on certain things, and the things they did act on were nonsensical with very little direction behind them, in my opinion. But anyway, I can't believe we managed almost 40 minutes of this.
Well, that's
Wow.
what happens when you're having
Wow.
fun. It's July. You got your AC working probably wherever you are right now in your office. You got, you know, feeling
I mean,
good.
we didn't even have to go into Godfather discussion,
No,
which
no, no,
I
no.
thought
We are
was
keeping that for the rainy
for the next
days of
pandemic.
no, for the rainy days of like November
Oh,
when there is an
gosh.
international break and the team just lost to Genoa. That's
Mm.
that's when we are keeping those conversations. Right now, what can people, just to sum it up, what can people expect from these coming weeks? Since we're gonna get an
Pain.
update later
Pain. I
on in
don't
the week
know.
or next week, they can expect anything, as you say, anything, because we've seen Roma do really incredible moves just out of the blue, and also just go with the flow and unfortunately accept whatever the restrictions and the constant UEFA tapping on your shoulder forces you to do, and that's really what it comes down to. Like, if and I don't know how many times I'm trying to get this message across, but if you as a fan see, for example, that Kamada is available on a free, or most recently it was Zaha, although he signed for Galatasaray. Um, it's not that the club are not aware of it. Like, it's not like if you're working in the world of football, you don't know that there is a guy named Kamada or a guy named Wilfred Zaha that is available on a free, and you're just actively not pursuing them. That you're just so oblivious to the existence of these players that a fan, from, I don't know, Australia knows about their existence, but you as a sporting director or as a manager or as a coach or whatever, as a scout, you don't know about their existence. Obviously, but obviously a club like Roma, even looking at what they've done this transfer window so far, they have to take such an extensive list of criteria and conditions into consideration before trying to make an offer, trying to get a contract done for a new player, that there are certain profiles that you just can't go after, like Marcel Savitzer. A lot of people were, super thrilled about him being linked to Roma. Why did he go to Borussia Dortmund? Because Borussia Dortmund could just walk up to Bayern Munich and say, we're going to put 20 million on the table for you.
Right.
And that's what they
Correct.
did. And that's the difference. That's the difference. And unfortunately, that's the case with Roma. Conditions were more favorable in signing the likes of Awar and Ndika. And perhaps then it is right now for Kamada, who's also being pursued by other top clubs, including Atletico Madrid, or for example Zaha, who in the end signed for Galatasaray, who were perhaps able to offer him a bigger contract. Whatever it is, clubs in Italy, including Roma, are operating under such strict conditions that before even attempting to put a player on their radar, they first have to always make those inquiries. They first have to understand how much is one. What are the conditions? Does the club want to, I don't know, get him let him leave on a loan or a permanent deal like Sanchez now? I'm not even entirely convinced that he is the player that Roma are after. But if the rumors are true, the main difference is that PSG want to let him leave on a permanent deal, and Roma have to do the same thing as they're doing with Gianluca Scamacca, offer a loan with option to buy. And that's unfortunate. That unfortunately is the condition you're in. And so I'm pretty sure that if you gave Thiago Pinto or Jose Mourinho carte blanche and you're like, okay, do whatever you want, no restrictions, UEFA is not looking at anything, do whatever you want, splurge all the money you want, you can do literally anything you want. I'm pretty sure that they would go out of their way to get the best starting 11 and the best bench you could possibly think of, because that's what Roma would like to do in order to get top 4, in order to win a trophy in Europe. But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. I'm sorry, it's not a fantasy world. I know it's frustrating. I know it's not fun, because you want to see your club linked to great players. You want to see your club, you know, enter a race for a player and overcome all the competition and sign him, and it's a great deal and the player works out great, kind of like we did for Paulo Dybala, although it wasn't really a big race aside from, you know, Inter. And and that's what we all want, but unfortunately the reality is different. The reality is, hey guys, before doing anything, you have to check this folder containing 3,000 documents and check all the requirements and all the restrictions that the settlement agreement and all that stuff. And that takes away the fun that you have as a fan when you look at these rumors, is because you want to dream big, but unfortunately in Serie A, especially, you cannot dream big. Even if you're a so-called top club in the league, you're not allowed to dream big.
Yeah, if I had the soundboard ready, I would play that clip of my good friend Marco Violi, where he says, "Mancano questi, I soldi." One of
I
his
soldini, yeah, I soldini.
one of his better clips that we have been able to be gifted with on the internet. All right, well, somehow we made it over 40 minutes. We're going to leave it there. I haven't any idea as to how we came up with content worth discussing for this long.
That's exactly why, if you like the show, you know what to do. You go to patreon.com/RomaPress and you click that button and you subscribe and you become a patron.
That was smooth.
That's where we get our energy to come up with these thrilling conversation topics, even on a hot July afternoon when there is literally nothing to talk about. So
quite literally nothing. Okay, we will leave it there until next time. We will talk with you next week. Until then,